Good stuff from the defensive backfield of late, particularly Caleb Koss. What have you seen from that group, especially in this stretch, without that out there?
Yeah, it's been impressive. Losing Thad obviously is a big loss. Certainly one of our best players, but we've had a lot of guys step up and play well and improve our collective play as a group, from communication to adjustments and technique and so forth. I think Brian and Mondo have done a really good job with that group of cohesively bringing them together, and they've played well, as you said, in spite of losing Thad for a few weeks. So a lot of credit to the players and the coaches for just kind of the unification that's come from that group in the last few weeks. It's really been impressive.
Right behind Coach Shelby.
Shelby Swanson with the News Observer. I'm curious, this matchup, Stanford, Coach Mike, obviously two former NFL coaches now facing off in college, and obviously it has to have been a bit of a learning curve, maybe with, for instance, like teaching younger, less experienced players with less time. They got to go to class. I'm curious, maybe at this point in the season, what's the biggest thing you've learned, or maybe adjustment you've made in terms of coaching the pros to now coaching college?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the coaching's about the same. Honestly, I think, as I've said before, the biggest difference has been the volume of players that are potentially on your team, the number of potential recruits, the number of potential portal players, whether you're in that process or whether you're where we are right now, kind of on the on the edge of it, but obviously you're always heading into it or coming out of it, one or the other. So just kind of working through that. Just the number of players is a lot. In the NFL, the players who were free agents were the players whose contracts expired. So you look at the contracts, see whose contract expired, and there's your 400 guys, or once you cut it down, maybe there's your 75 guys out of the 400 that you're actually interested in. I mean, here you've got 100 players on every team times however many teams. I mean, there's literally thousands of players that could potentially enter the portal or not. So that's a little bit different. And your team, everybody's a free agent or they're not. And that's different than in the NFL when you had, again, players under contract, or you have rights to players for upcoming year or years. This is just a lot different than that. So I'd say that's kind of the biggest thing. The coaching on the field is, you see something that you teach them how to do it, and if they don't do it correctly, then you correct them, and then you teach it again and work on it again, and then they get better at it. It's the same process that you go through at maybe at a little different level, but the players they're playing against are at a different level too. So there's an equilibrium there. But I'd say the difference in college for me is just the volume of players to recruit, to visit, to attract, if you will, versus drafting process and free agency process and the portal are quite different. And I'd say in the NFL, you feel like you had a set of rules that was it was clearly defined. Now they changed when the CBA changed every, call it 10 years, but the rules were clearly defined. Here, there are a lot of, there's, the House legislation, there's the NCAA, and then they kind of run together, and they don't, and it's a little more, a little harder to decipher exactly what can and can't be done, NILs to so forth. Honestly, we are all the whole day talking about it, but it's a lot more. It's much less clear on a lot of those things. Now, Mike handles most of that, but it's just less clear on how a lot of those processes will work. I think right now it's fine, but it's like, how will they work going forward with the recruiting class, with the NIL, for the college, the guys who are actually in college, and their, let's call it, contracts or arrangements. it's there's a lot of clarity that still needs to occur. And talking to other coaches, in college football and other administrators, I think that's a pretty common viewpoint. So.
Right in front of our coach.
Yeah, Bill, you talked about Melcar earlier and, kind of the production he's been having. I wanted to ask about, the line as a whole. I mean, we've seen guys like Tyler Thompson get back there, or CJ Mims get back there, and not even just sacks, but tackles for loss in general. How have you seen, I guess, Melcar's, increased play kind of open things up for the rest of the line to kind of get back there again?
Yeah, for our defensive line, it's very much of a do-your-job mentality, and you don't know if the play is going to come to me or come to you. If we're in position, it'll come to one of us. But that's not something we control. That happens with where the runner decides to enter, or in some cases, where the quarterback ends up throwing the ball from. So it's really about playing good team defense, making sure that each player takes care of his responsibility. And of course, the pass rush is all dependent on the pass coverage, and vice versa. So when we cover well, that helps the pass rush. When we rush well, that helps the pass coverage, and so forth. So it's really about team defense more than one person, being highlighted. Sometimes the plays just sort of come to that person, and the next week or a couple of weeks later, it might come to somebody else. That's really a little bit unpredictable. But I would say overall, as the group, the defensive line has worked well together and improved every week. We've seen different running games. We've seen like the Clemson's counter runs. We've seen Virginia's more of a zone running team, and so forth. And so it's different from week to week how you play those runs, and how the defensive line and linebackers have to fit into them and take on those blocking patterns. So. But they've done a good job adjusting to that and playing consistently up front. And the more consistency of a defensive line, then the more consistency you can have at linebacker, and then the more consistency you can have with the defensive backs, as you're playing at 3 different layers. When the defensive line is inconsistent, then the linebackers kind of don't know where to go, and the defensive backs kind of don't know where to go, and you're kind of playing off the guy in front of you instead of being aggressive and playing to a clear-cut responsibility. So it all starts up front, and those guys have really done a good job for us. They've just gotten better every week.
Right, third row.
Hey, Coach, Jeremiah Thompson calls on SI. Before this past Saturday, for Syracuse, the last win you all had was early September. Can you just describe the mood that you saw from the players, and for that point, can you also describe your own mood, being able to capture that victory after some time?
It's really the process has been the same all the way through. We've won, we haven't won, but each week it's start of a new week, and start the process of learning about our opponent, studying our opponent, understanding how we want to play, and going out there and practicing to that, to that type of play and to that standard. And the things that we do well get reinforced, that this is how we want to do them. And the things that we don't do well, we correct and say, here's how we need to improve them. And we've just kept trying to improve every single day, whether it was, after the Richmond win or after the Virginia loss. The process still stayed the same, and it's been pretty consistent. I think that's really been the biggest thing why our team is continuing to improve, because they work hard every week. They improve every week. They literally improve every day. And, when you stack those on top of each other consistently over a period of time, then you perform better. So if we could still just eliminate a couple of the major mistakes that we've made the last few weeks, we'd be even better off taking care of football better. So hopefully that's in the future for us.